guys, so because you clicked on this video, I'm assuming you read the short story Eva is Inside Her Cat by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And I know what you're probably thinking. What the hell did I just read? This short story is an interesting third-person story about a woman's thoughts as a non-living spirit exploring the three-dimensional world through her memories. She thinks about her beauty and how much she loathed it, and she thinks about the anxiety it caused her, and she thinks about how she has insomnia. She can feel insects crawling through her skin and through her veins, and she thinks about the boy she keeps talking about in the story. We don't know who this boy is, but we can assume that she loves him. And then Garcia Marquez finally begins to reveal that she has been dead the entire time. She felt changed into an abstract, imaginary being. She felt changed into an incorporeal woman. Something like her suddenly having entered that high and unknown world of pure spirits. And her thought process is our obituary. And Garcia goes back and forth explaining one random thing to another, switching from explaining her suicide and how it was dying from arsenic poisoning to her memories and her thoughts about a boy, an orange, incarnating into her cat. At the end, you realize that this entire story, this thought process you thought was happening in just like 20 minutes, but because there is no sense of time in this non-dimensional world, you realize that this was all just a stream of consciousness while she was dead, and she had been dead for 3,000 years. Blew my mind. Only then did she understand that 3,000 years had passed since the day she had a desire to eat the first orange. Now for the analysis. So with the story being published in 1947, this is when World War II was coming to an end and many countries started abandoning experimental psychology after seeing what the Nazis did with it. They were evil. And then the scientists started moving to psychoanalysis. Since Garcia Marquez lived in Colombia at the time, and Colombia was one of the first Latin American countries to establish a degree in psychology, I think Garcia Marquez was responding to the idea of Sigmund Freud, who studied mental illness. So Garcia Marquez is making these points that anxiety and depression are dreadful. No matter how physically beautiful a person is, no matter how much you think this person should love him or herself, there are monsters, or in this case insects, eating at everyone, especially the monster of depression and or anxiety. During the story, Eva thinks about her life and how her beauty dragged her down to the depths of her depressed thoughts and ultimately to her suicide. She thinks of her beauty as a tumor or a cancer. When she thinks about her awful, horrible anxiety disorder, she wishes she was somebody else. Those nights when she tried to speed time along so that with the arrival of daylight the beast would stop hurting her. What good was beauty like that? Night after night, sunken in her depression, she thought it would have been better for her to just be an ordinary woman. Or a man. It's hard to say whether these insects that are eating at her are because she is dead and she can faintly still feel her body being consumed by these insects, or if Marquez is trying to describe her anxiety. I think both. I think the author chooses to use the bugs to describe her constant uneasiness with who she is and her anxiety, and as a foreshadow or a hint that she has been dead long enough to be in the dirt feeding the insects. When Eva thinks about the boy, it reminds her of an orange tree he used to have, and that's when she gets that really extreme craving to eat the orange, which she could not do because she was a spirit. Her beauty had collapsed on her. Now in that elemental situation, she could be happy, although, not completely happy, because now her greatest desire, the desire to eat an orange, had become impossible. This quote shows that her one wish not to be beautiful, comes true, but still with this depression, she could not be fully content. I guess the depression carried on to her death, to her spirit. While reading this, I associated the boy she is talking about with the orange and her urge to eat it with the boy. That's when she begins to think about incarnating into her cat. Hence, Eva is inside her cat. Her desire to eat the orange is so incredibly strong, she decides to go find her cat that she used to have when she was alive and to incarnate into it. And as the cat, she will eat her ever so desired orange. I interpreted this as Marquez using this orange to represent desire, unobtainable desire, and perhaps love, which makes the argument that depression interferes with the ability to appreciate. After you read and understand this story completely, you'll probably have to read it twice. You will see that Marquez does an amazing job of explaining anxiety and depression and exactly how I would think being in a spirit world would be. He goes way beyond my thought wavelengths, way beyond my wildest dreams. My imagination could never come up with that, and it's pretty trippy. But anyway, I hope you all got a very good understanding of this story and my analysis of it, and keep watch for English 120 videos coming up. Bye!